Welcome to the Shake Up Podcast. I'm your host and co-founder of Mr. Consistent, Jared Bell. This is a podcast where we invite friends of the brand into our studio. We get to know their story a little bit better. We chat all things business, culture and marketing, all while shaking up a few cocktails. This week on the Shake Up Podcast, we have design manager for VRG GRL, Teagan Mcleod. VRG GRL is a women's online boutique store that creates its own collections. The role of design manager is multifaceted and widely looked at as a dream role for many up-and-coming designers. Having the ability to create and construct a wide range of fashion pieces also comes with tremendous responsibility and an amount of work. Teagan has pulled herself to the top by remaining persistent through her challenges and wearing a hard shell as superiors critique her work. But without question, it is a role that she deserves and has pushed herself towards, from working as an intern assisting on runway shoots to truly embodying the fashion designer she is now. Hard work truly does pay off, and Teagan has a story to prove it. So let's get into this episode. Welcome to another episode of Welcome to another episode of the Shake Up Podcast. We actually just tried to start recording. We're using a new platform today. We're doing, you'll see it today, a little cut. Tommy North's over here forgot to press the record button, but we've got a very special guest.
It happens.
We've got a special guest in here today, Teagan Mcleod. She's a designer. She's a design manager at VRG GRL, and she designs, like, they're an online business, online platform, huge, and you design the clothes for the cool people of this day and age, right?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. So yeah, me and the creative team, alongside with Nat, who's the creative director, just design clothes, as you said. Well, that's not all that we do. It's not as glamorous as it sounds, but yes, that's what we do.
Yeah, cool. How long have you been designing for?
I think it's been a decade now. It makes me feel really old saying that. It's been a long time, but actually it feels not like it's been that long. I think because it's so fast paced and it's like forever moving and forever changing as well. So the time has just gone so quick.
It is Black Friday. We are drinking our Blushini mix, but you walked in, you're on the phone, you're like, blah, 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 down the phone barrel. Like, it's obviously crazy for you guys over there at VRG GRL, like being Black Friday as well. Like, I imagine it's absolutely manic.
It's crazy. We have like some amazing sales on. Check them out. But yeah, it's just been so crazy this entire year. And I think like just the growth that the business has experienced from the States, it's been a really crazy year. But, you know, also along with that, like super exciting because I feel like so many businesses had a really tough time over COVID. So to be a part of a business that is thriving and I think has so much interest from other areas of the world, it's like really exciting to design not just for like a local market.
Absolutely. Like people are becoming more and more comfortable with like shopping online and purchasing a piece of clothing or whatever it might be off a really well styled image, off like a model. And like, I know you guys do like lifestyle images plus studio shoots, and then you do like video content and all that kind of stuff. It makes it a lot easier. And then the return process in like buy two sizes and send the one back that you don't like. I know a lot of online retailers have kind of like that policy, which makes people feel even more comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, it is like a crazy turnaround in terms of like what the warehouse team can do and the capacity and how quick they can turn it around, and just making it as easy as we can for the customer is the end goal, and showing them like how they can wear something. Like we don't just want to do a studio shoot and that's all. We really want to show like how we envisioned it from our original concept of like where you can wear it and what you can do with it and how you can style it. We want it to be exciting. We want people to feel amazing when they wear it, and we want people to be confident in it. So
that's epic. How did you even get into this shit? I know how I got into graphic design, but like there's like obviously avenues. There's so many avenues of design, and people probably don't even know. Like there's pattern making, there's like pattern design, then there's graphic design, then there's actual like designing of the garments, like taking inspiration from other garments and recreating things and doing all that kind of stuff. How did you like? Because you used to be working a hair salon.
Yeah, so I used to work in a little tidbit that I don't usually share, but here we are. But I actually used to work so I'm originally from Melbourne, so I used to work in a salon in South Yarra, and they had a deal with American Crew, which is like a men's hair styling brand. So they had like a partnership, and they worked like on Melbourne Fashion Week. They would style the like men's runway shows. So I would go along to that when I was like a junior member of the team, and all of a sudden I was like, actually this side is way cooler than what I'm doing now. Like I want to do that. So I just like said to mum and dad, I'm going to change. I don't want to do this anymore. And, you know, parents, as you would know with Lola, like you just come from a place of love, but can often just like want to be like, just want them to be safe and make the right decision. So it wasn't something that mum and dad really wanted me to change up and do, but I feel like I just had the fire inside me and was like, I don't really care. Like I'm just going to give it a go. And it's so hard to get into as well. And there's so many limited jobs and there's so many negatives that you can look at. But I was like, I'm just going to see if they even want to have an interview with me, because you had to have an interview to get in. And I was applying as a mature age student at that point, obviously.
How old were you?
I think
Late
you have to be
20s,
3 years out of school to apply as a mature age. Sort of have to wind back the clock.
So like
early
10 years,
20s.
so you're definitely doing like 20s, 21.
Yeah, really early, because I finished school when I was 17, so year 12 back then. So yeah, just a few years after that. So applied and got in, and I just had this feeling. I remember like when I walked into RMIT, I just had this feeling like this is where I'm supposed to be. And I think mum and dad like had pretty much supported me up until this stage, and they were like, we're not going to do it again for like you to go back another 3 years, like make it work. But I was so determined. So I got a job at Sass and Bide in their glory days. So I loved it there. And then I used to work like at a nightclub at night because the uni course was so demanding and we literally only had one day off during the week. I couldn't really earn that much of an income. Yeah. So I just like did whatever at that time. I look back now and I'm like, I had so much energy.
So many of those courses don't allow people to have jobs, like earn cash and be able to pay for it themselves and earn a living, especially when you're mature age. And like by 23, you got some fucking bills. you got phone bills, you got rent, you got like, all like they all come in at once, and then it's really hard to earn money while, getting a career later on in life.
Exactly. So that's why I was like, it's only going to be temporary. So this right now will only be temporary. But also at the same time, like it was so much fun, like working with the girls at SAS, who are still some of my like really close friends now. It was just a really good time, and it wasn't going to be forever, but I just really enjoyed what I was doing. So I know it's generic, but when you love it, it doesn't feel like an ache, you know? Yeah. You're tired and you're exhausted, but it's not.
You quite enjoy what you do. Hey, Tommy.
I do.
You enjoy what
he's doing it right.
Yeah. I believe in the same thing. Like when you enjoy your job, it doesn't feel like a job, but like I love creating, I love designing, I love doing brand and marketing stuff. Like it doesn't, like if I don't do it for a week, holy shit, I'm bored. Like, I feel like I've just got that energy to put out and I need to put it into something. RMIT, is that how you say it? RMIT?
RMIT, yes, that's
Where
right.
did you go? So how long did you study there for?
So it's like 3 years, but you can do like an additional like year on top of that and like further your education. But because I was mature age, as soon as I had that qualification, I was like, I want to try and get a job as soon as I can. So I started interning, and it's really tough because when people are looking for entry-level design assistants, they sort of want experience, but you obviously have no experience. So I just started interning for free.
Interning's hard, right? Like interning, like it's unpaid usually, and it's you're basically begging somebody to teach you while they're like working in a really high paced, fast environment. Like you're like, give me time. And they're trying to show you things, but then they're obviously like super busy in what they're doing. It's really hard to find somebody that will actually give you the time of day to show you the ropes.
And you get some random jobs as well. Like when I did an internship at Mimco, like you can imagine you walk in, it's like walls like full of like bead rolls. Yeah. And I used to have to make up the sample pack. So like take the correct amount of beads like off each little one and like package them up in a little thing. The end of the day, my hands are so gross. But you know, you just do like what you have to do. And I always just sort of had a bit of a like just get on with it mentality. And yeah, I just enjoyed it. So
how after you intern, what happened then? Like obviously there's a pathway that you've got, like you're the fucking big boss, you know, you're the design manager. Like you're the guru now. You're the guru trying to give people time of day. How did you get there? Because you worked at River Island, which is like a huge like a chain, right, in the UK?
They have like bricks and mortar and have a huge presence on like Oxford Street, which obviously Oxford Street has changed so much now with what's happened with like Topshop and everything. But, you know, years ago they had that huge presence there. So I had an opportunity to move overseas with the current role that I was in. They had a small trend forecasting office like in the City of London. So I was like, I'm going to do it and just see what happens. I wasn't like 100% sure. Like I never had the idea that I really wanted to move overseas. Like I'd traveled quite a lot, but I never thought about living somewhere else sort of until, these stars aligned. And then I moved over there and I did that and it was amazing. And then sort of got headhunted by River Island and then moved into a role, like a junior role as a designer there. And it was crazy. But it was amazing. And I still like speak to the girls from there now. They're all still working at like amazing, like really big businesses in the UK. So it was a great experience for me, but obviously I was on a visa, so I only had a short amount of time that I could spend there. Yeah. And when it sort of come to the end of my visa, they wanted to sponsor me. I'm like, I'm not sure how much of this I can say. But essentially, like if I left outside of that contractual term, maybe this one to be cut out of it. But if I left out of their contractual term, I would have had to pay the money that they had paid to like bring me on as a.
That's pretty. That's super common. Like if they. You have to fulfill your contract. Like if they pay for your sponsorship and you don't fulfill your contract, then you have to pay the money back that the sponsorship cost the business. Yeah. Super common.
Okay, that's good. But like at the time.
In Australia. Like
I just had no idea though. I was like,
and it's scary too.
It's
like
scary.
It's a very, it's a fucking huge cloud to put over somebody's head, right? Like when you go, we're going to sponsor you, we're going to pay X amount of money, but also just FYI, if you don't love your job and you're not loving your life here, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars to get out of your contract here in the UK to even go home.
Yeah, exactly. And that really scared me, like that thought of being like locked in. So, and then also by this stage I'd met my now fiance Callan.
The man, the myth.
Yes, the man, the myth, the legend. He was a construction manager and wasn't able to be sponsored. So it was like a bit of a fork in the road for me yet again, because I was like, what are we going to do? And then I was like, you know what? I've had an amazing time. Yes, I could stay on, but I think I'm ready to go back home now. And I had in my mind that if I didn't leave London then, when would I leave? Like I just thought I would stay. And I was
forever.
Like,
You've got a cloud over your head as well. Like
I'm in fear. So we left. He's from Cairns and I'm from Melbourne. So we moved back to Melbourne. And then I started having chats with Princess Polly, and next minute I was on another plane to Belly Heads. Yeah.
Now you're home. Do you call this home?
Yeah, I do now in Miami. That's my little home.
Yeah, good. And then Princess Polly was it was a pretty similar role. You were there for a little while, and that's how we met, because my wife used to work there as well. But then you've obviously moved on to VRG GRL, and you guys create like amazing pieces. Like you drop collections how often?
So every week we have new product go online.
That's crazy. How many new products go online every week?
It's a lot. It varies.
We're talking hundreds though, right? It can go anywhere from between 50 to 100.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's a lot of pieces of clothing.
It's a lot of pieces. We do also drop collections. So we've had our first sustainable swimwear range launch, and we do bits on top of our weekly uploads as well. So it's a bit of a, a variety, but yeah, essentially we work towards our weekly uploads, and it's a really creative role at VRG GRL, which is why I feel so grateful to be there and why I enjoy every day, because, I've worked at a few businesses now, and not every business runs, how VRG GRL runs, and really values like creativity and a really unique, I think it has a really strong DNA.
Yeah.
And I think that is like, you know, that comes down from the owners, Dan and Nat and Kale. But it's really great that although we are a trend-driven business, we take so much inspiration from like vintage and different bits and pieces that's why I feel like it feels so unique, and that's why it's so exciting to be a part of as well, because I just feel like so many businesses get stuck at like looking at runway shows or looking at big trend forecasting platforms, which are amazing, but they're a huge cost to the business. So I think things are changing now, like in terms of apparel and inspiration, and you can get inspiration from anywhere, like from interiors and from amazing fabrics, and it's just great to be a part of a really creative business.
I love, like, that's the one thing that we're really conscious of as we grow this business is to become, we're obviously pretty lifestyle orientated, but not going down the mission of us three directors as owners of like, what do we actually care about? Like, is it money? Is it actually changing the culture of cocktails and people like getting really good drinks to people at home, or allowing people to be able to drink really good drinks in bars and venues? And like, they're the things that sometimes I think can get mixed messaging when the dollars start rolling through the door heavily, and then you start mixed messaging into your staff and your creative team, and it's starts to become more about top line than anything else in the business versus the staff and the culture that you are creating.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like at VRG, the passion that I have, and I feel like the entire creative team has, is I feel like everyone listening to this podcast has put something on and been like, I'm feeling me. Like, yes, I feel good. So it's like, if we can share that with our community, how amazing is that?
Yeah,
so
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's nice to know that you can evoke a certain feeling in someone by something that you've put a lot of time and energy and love in to create. So
'cause your customers are pretty vocal as well. Like, and same with ours. Like, when they love something, they bloody love it, and they tag, they share it with their friends, and like, word of mouth is obviously the strongest piece of marketing. Like, you got to get this dress, or you got to get this cocktail mix, or whatever it is. That's how really good stuff happens for business, when people really believe that deeply in what you're doing.
Exactly. So I think it's so exciting when you see organic growth. And obviously there's so much around growth and all the different avenues. But to have organic growth, you know that you really have like a loyal following.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
In saying that, we're going to get another drink here. You're going to make a margarita, and we're going to see how fast you can make this margarita.
Okay.
You've drank a few cocktails in your time, so I reckon you might be all right here.
Oh, no, I'm not usually on the other end, but who?
You're on the drinking end, not the making end. Cal, your partner's on the making end. Is
shaking up Mr. C. Who do I have to beat? What's the top time?
There's heaps of people up there, but
Jared.
I'm the top time.
Jared's
the top time.
20 seconds. Let's not
20
aim.
seconds.
I mean, aim for it, but
Aim higher.
Oh, I feel like there's a lack of confidence in me there.
Aim higher.
oh look,
Do you know anyone on the board? Off of, like
34.
Cat's on the board.
Oh, okay. Love you, Kat. Let's aim to beat Kat.
Cat's 29.76.
I reckon
I've
we can
got
get
Kat,
it.
yeah.
All right, we'll come back. We'll set you up and we'll do
Let's
it.
go.
All right, we're set up. We're gonna do the speed test.
Yes.
We're aiming to beat 29. What's Cat's time? 29 what?
29.76.
29.76 is what we're going to get you. 75 mils of Mr. Consistent Mix, 45 mils of the booze, ice, 5 shakes, strain into the glass, garnish it. That'll be your time.
Oh, my heart's beating.
It's so good. It gets you real pumped up. Hey, you wait till after, you'll be shaking.
Oh, my God.
It's so good. I love it. All right, Tommy, you're on the timer.
Push that
We're
mic
gonna
away.
go. We're gonna
This
go
way,
ready,
mate.
set. He'll go ready. What do you want to do? 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah.
And go on, go.
We'll go 3, 2, 1, then go.
So I'll go on go.
Yeah. Are you ready?
All right, I'm going to talk you through what we're doing. It. So
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
ice, bang, mix all the way to the top. Quick, fill. Yeah, here we go. Dump that thing in, bang, tequila, second line down. This is good
This is
time.
good.
Keep going. There you go, done. 5 shakes, put on top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get that lid off. Get it off. Whack it. You got to whack it. You got to whack it. you go. All right, strainer on top, pour it out. Oh, she's done double-handed. Oh, no. Get the garnish on top. Time.
23:39.
Yeah!
Sauce cat.
What a good time.
Oh my god.
23:39. That puts you
23:39.
Oh, I'm like shaking.
ninth.
Holy shit.
9.
Yeah.
Yes.
23:39.
Oh, I'm one under one of the codes.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
23:39. That's wrong.
No, it was right.
No. It's Teags MC.
Oh, my Insta hand.
Yeah, Insta handles
Oh,
at
sorry.
Teags MC. Teags MC. Those following at home.
All right. Clean
All
up.
right, we're going to clean this up and we'll come back. 23:39. Absolute belter of a fucking time. Absolute.
Self clap.
Little golf clap. Absolute belter of a time. 9th place on the board. Amazing.
Happy with that.
Are you like feeling the
I'm
like the-
struggling to sit down. I'm struggling to sit down. I'm like, let's go, everyone. Let's go.
How's it taste?
It's obviously amazing. It's my cocktail of choice from Mr. C.
It is, you
Although
like
espresso does rival it.
There's a time for a margie and there's a time for espresso.
Yeah, exactly.
They've all got their individual time slots.
Delish.
When you we're talking about like a little bit more about, I guess, about the design stuff, but there's so many different avenues, right? Like how many different roles is there, say, in your team that you guys, like there's probably parts you do externally, but there's probably parts that you do internally of like those different roles I sort of touched on earlier about pattern making, designer, graphic designer.
Yeah, and every role is really a specialist role. But as you would probably know, like when you start small, you sort of do a bit of everything.
Yeah.
But as the business grows, it allows you to bring on people who are specialists in their field. So whether that be a pattern maker or a garment technician or a graphic designer and then an actual designer. Sorry, I say actual, but a clothing designer. So
I remember when I was at Billabong, right? Like I walked into a pattern making room, like with 10 pattern makers in there. Like it was insane. And then the design department's down the other end of the building.
yeah,
Like it's crazy.
it's crazy how many hands touch that one piece that you receive and that you purchase. So as I said, every avenue is really a specialist avenue. But for me, I always actually loved the items of clothes and silhouette. So I knew that's where I wanted to land. And actually like pattern making, it's very like numerical. And I'm like not similar to you. I'm not so
Yeah, it was
numbersy.
like sizing, right? Like you create
It's
a size
crazy.
they create a size on a basic, like on a block, and then they grow the block out to go from
Has to be
yeah,
graded.
from small to down extra small up to extra large, whatever it is. And it's same with, they make it in a size 8 and it's got to go to a 12. Like it just up and down, like there's grading. It's all number. It's very numbersy.
It's all, yeah.
Fit.
Yeah, exactly. So there's so much technical side around it, and that's why you have to give real respect to people that do that, like as their sole trade, because it really is. So at Verge, we're lucky that we're able to start to split some of those tasks because the business is at a stage where not everyone in design has to do all of those roles, which is really exciting. For me, because I don't like doing it. But it honestly, it's great. So I, as I said, I always knew that I wanted to do the silhouette side of things and really focus on that. And that's something that, as I said earlier, like it's great that Verge is so creative and the design team is really able to focus on that and just bring the most beautiful pieces we can to our amazing customers.
Because your life looked a fair bit different, like from where it currently is. Like as a designer, you usually travel a lot. Like to now currently, like how do you get your inspiration? Because beforehand, typically buyers and designers travel heaps and they do, they go overseas and they see what trends are happening in stores in US, UK, all over the world. And then they go into vintage and they pull inspiration from vintage clothing. Like Australian vintage clothing is not
It's different.
great.
It's
There's smoke. You might find a couple of gold nuggets in the big piles of turds. But like in the US, you go into vintage stores that are literally ripe for the picking. Like there's all this amazing stuff that
they're showrooms. Like they're showrooms.
amazing.
When I worked at London, when we used to launch like special collections, we would have a showroom that we would go to, and it was like purely just really high-end vintage. So you could just go in there and you would pay to hire that one vintage piece. So it might be YSL from the 60s or, whenever. And you could purchase that and you would take it away and then you would return it. So you would like rent these vintage pieces of clothes like throughout the decades. It's just something that, I mean, London, it's got so many more years on Australia, so you understand how that's landed where it has. But as you said, the same thing, like I've been away with Carissa to the States where we would go to appointments.
Carissa's my wife for reference. She's a buyer. So like two different two just work on the same things but work together on getting a product to market.
Exactly. And we would go and there's like vintage that you can have a look at, which is just like rails and rails and rails, and it's all really affordable. Or you can go look at more like specialized vintage where you book appointments and you go to the showroom. So there's so much inspiration. I mean, luckily a lot of places have adapted to this like current, couple of years that we've seen. And there are, a lot of the vintage shops you can like make appointments online and you can still do that. Obviously everything's just so much more difficult because as you said, prior to this time, like I would go to China maybe 3 times a year and then the States a couple of times, then, to Hong Kong as well. So it was a really different time. So I've never been in the same place for such a long time, which has been crazy because obviously Gold Coast isn't like naturally my home where I'm from. So it's been, I guess, challenging for me personally, but you just adapt. Once again, you just adapt. And there are other things, as I mentioned, like you can take inspiration from that you don't have to travel for. Yeah. So
there's lots of cool websites out there and lots of like obviously cool blogs. Pinterest is obviously an easy one, but there's loads of different places where you can pull inspiration for materials and fabrics. And most of those places send swatches. Like a lot of like factories work on new materials and new garments and all different kinds of zips and buttons and bloody blahs and like what you used to do at Mimco, pull off the button. Like they'll send you loads and loads of buttons and they'll send you loads and loads of swatches of fabrics and you can actually choose the fabrics and then you can choose what color you want the fabric, or this fabric can have a print on it and they'll sublimate or print prints on like ice. This is one of the crazy things that I found out is when they do like when it's not sublimated and it's mass printed. And it's like a giant screen print, like where they lay like 6 meters of whatever it is and they still put the mesh down and then run a big printing screen over it and they can do like 3 or 4 colors. Like it's crazy the machines they have over there.
And that's what I mean.
In China and places like that.
Oh, it's crazy. India. And that in itself is like then another alley that you can completely go down. So it is, it's so broad. But when you do see things like that, like I remember when I was in China, we went to a denim factory and there was literally like this machine and it like cuts out the pocket and then it slides down the like left-hand side and then it places the pocket on and then the other machine like stitches it and it's all like so seamless and so fast and like spits it off the end. So it's just honestly, and machines that put the poppers on and the amount that they can do in such a short amount of time, it's just, it really is crazy.
Because there's a lot of trend forecasting that goes into what you do as well. Like how do you even work that out? Like like obviously runway is a major one that kind of predicts where fashion's going to go, but then pulling it down on that, like, and being seasonal to the place where you're most popular in. Like you guys are obviously most popular in Australia, with America coming along, but those guys run on like, I guess, 2 kind of different seasons. Yeah.
So it is that challenge of designing for 2 different hemispheres. But I feel like when I lived in the UK and through traveling, like how I always have, I have like an understanding, I think, of the market. And you also, in design, although it's heavily creative, you read sales and you understand like what works for your customer and you're able to develop into it, or you're able to take the trend and be like, this is like what it's looking like in this one space. So say this trend's taken off on like TikTok now. It's like such a different time to 10 years ago.
How mad is it, eh? Like when
what? Oh my God.
She sends me like tickies and she's like, hey, we need to do this TikTok. It's going off. I'm like, yep, right. Literally
like the younger girls, like, some of the younger team at work will like come in. But that's why it's so great to have like a diverse team, like whether, you know, age and everything, and they can come in and be like, this is this thing that's like trending now on TikTok. So it's not even from like a traditional like trend forecasting platform or how you would traditionally pull a story together. Or
something goes viral, next day it's like radio work on a product to fulfill that demand that's obviously currently like gone ham sandwich.
Yeah, literally. It's crazy. So there's so many different elements to pulling things together, and then you can just make it suit like your season or your brand or whatever it may be.
Has there been any, have you had like, obviously you've had loads of bestsellers. Chris has told me you'd had heaps of bestsellers. Is there one piece that you've designed that's like stood out to you? Like any brand business or whatever it was like, wow, I can't, like you saw it on somebody, like it was like, holy shit, that person's wearing it. That's probably a good way to.
Yeah, I think that like, you know, for me personally, as I spoke to earlier back in working at Sass & Bide in the glory days there, I love Pip Edwards, who has obviously gone on to create PE Nation, the Empire. But at that time, she was designing the accessories at Sass & Bide, and I always just thought that she was so cool. She would talk about it and do all of
She is pretty fucking cool.
She's so cool. And a few weeks ago, she wore one of my tops from VRG GRL, and I was like, that's just crazy. That's cool. I just love
she's
her.
A designer. Like, she's a mad designer. Like,
yeah.
She creates some cool shit. Like, PE Nation was way ahead of its time in terms of activewear and stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's so her. I feel like that is really like speaks to her style. And so to see her like wear one of my tops that I worked on at VRG, I'm like, oh, that's really nice. You know?
That's rad.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to play a card game. Actually, I want to ask you a question. Any cringe topics, like any cringe-worthy like trends going on, like Crocs and shit? Like Crocs are popping off.
Crocs are.
Post Malone's selling out.
Let's get your thoughts on Crocs.
Yeah, let's hear it. Like,
I mean, like they're, you know, honestly, some people can really rock them. So it's like, you know, you do you, boo. Like if that's what you want to wear, good. I mean, I don't want to wear Crocs, but there's like many like cringe-worthy, like I think some festival trends. I'd prefer to keep like my ass in my underwear, but hey, like arseless chaps are a thing, like whatever. You know, there's like fashion is fun though, and you should have fun with it. So whatever you want to do it.
Just be careful. Look in the mirror before you put your Crocs on. Honestly though, like, can you believe Post Malone is like selling Crocs out? Like, they're like words.
But that's what I mean. Fashion at the end of the day, like,
it is what you interpret it to be.
It's what you make it, and it really should be fun, and it's like have fun with it. So when this thing happened with Crocs, I was like, oh, it's actually a bit hilarious. Like, can we all like take a second? So I think, you know, whatever you want to do and however you want to wear it, just if you make it you, I think that's when you always look and feel the best.
That's why I love going to like Japan, where somewhere where like they dress for themselves. Like like a lot of people like dress. I dress because I'm coming to work this way, but like I'll often put things on and Chris is like, "You're gonna wear that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I kind of like it." Like she's like, "You can't wear that."
You're like, "Watch me."
Tommy dress is really cool. Like most like. I got to text him.
Shout out, Tommy.
Hey, I texted him. I was like, I want to wear, like, he was always wearing crop jeans. Like, yeah, crop jeans are like a quite trending thing. And I was like, I was just a dude wearing jeans that just finished.
Did it really?
Like, and I was like, have I cut them high enough, man? I'm sending him photos. I'm like, should I cut them high? Should I cut them high? Like, I was going to a party. I was like, I want to look cool.
Yeah, I literally, Cal's like all across that now. He's like so tall, so it's a bit of a different proportion for him. But I love it. You look cool today, Tommy.
We'll get Belsy on the relaxed fit soon.
Yeah, they need to be wide.
Yeah, he's not there yet.
They need to be wide. That's it. That's the look. And then with a cute pair of socks.
Yeah, see?
It feels like when you're wearing wide pants and you look down, you're like, whoa, am I a cowboy here or what? Starring Williams? Are they Dickies?
AS Colour, Mermaid Beach.
They look like
1517 Gold Coast Highway.
They look like Dickies. All right, we're going to play the card game here and choose. I picked out a couple of cards here that I know you pretty well, so I reckon
one
of these.
Gosh.
All right. All right, you want to choose one? This is also, just so you know, the Never Have I Ever Shake Up card game pack. It's online now. You can pay it.
On-trend, ombre, packaging, cute.
Yeah, I am, mate.
You're
I'm the most
across it.
on-trend packaging designer you'll ever meet. All right, choose away.
Cried in order to get my way. Ooh. We might have to edit this out. I'm not. I don't feel like I've ever cried. I'm not like I take responsibility for shit that I do. Yeah.
You still cry.
You-
Fallen asleep in public?
yes. I have fallen asleep in public.
Where, when?
I am a bit of a sleep pest. So when a few years ago, I went to New York over Christmas with my friends, and I was so jet lagged. But we had a pretty tight schedule, so we were moving around, and we went to Times Square, and I sat down on a bench and I fell asleep in Times Square. Done.
Out
That
like
was
a light.
it. That was it. I've fallen asleep. When I was traveling around South America, my flight got delayed, in true South American style, and I had a 16-hour layover. So I just went to sleep at the airport. I didn't want to leave because I was a bit scared and I hadn't met my friend yet. So I was I feel like I'm safer to fall asleep in Buenos Aires on the floor of the airport rather than try and leave and then stay at a hostel and come back.
Run the risk of not being there.
Yeah, literally. So I've fallen asleep in, many public places.
One last question.
Okay.
Any advice for people that want to start, because fashion is obviously a really cool area to work in. Design is the coolest part of, I think, the coolest part of fashion to work in, over styling or any of those other kind of things.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for people that want to actually get into it? How they get into it? What do you do?
Yeah. I think if you have studied design and you're looking to get a job, as I said, it can be really tough because the amount of students that graduate don't match the amount of available roles that are there. So I feel when there is a role available, really put your time into your application. If you're applying for a certain business, you'll pretty much be able to look up who owns it or go on LinkedIn, find out who the HR manager is, send them a LinkedIn message first, then apply on Seek, wherever it is. Don't think that you're too cool, you sort of have to really, to get in, you just have to be everywhere and cover all bases. And I think tailor your CV or put something together that is representative of the brand. So if you're going for a job at VRG GRL, look at what VRG GRL has, look at their offering and say, this is what I feel like I can add and here's what I've put together to show you. Don't just bring in your portfolio that is a completely different style and doesn't really relate. So I feel put the work in once you're in that situation, and that will give you your best chance at standing out in an interview. And I guess outside of that, you just have to be quite resilient and just not give up and just keep persisting. There is so many glamorous sides of the industry, but in reality, it is quite tough and it can be quite cutting, particularly if you creatively, if you get attached to something and someone just cuts it down, it can be really tough. But if you develop a thick skin and you just have persistence and you truly love it, you will get to where you want to be.
Because there's so many different roles. A role might pop up in pattern making, but once you're in the business, when the role comes for design or whatever else it is, or trend forecasting, whatever it is, you can, it's easy to move inside a business. The portfolio thing that you said, couldn't agree more. I love, nothing makes me stand up and see a resume or somebody's application than something that's they've gone and put time and effort into it because they really, really, really want to work for your business.
Yeah.
And it's clear when they put something like that through.
Yeah,
Amazing
exactly.
advice.
Thanks, J-Val.
Amazing advice. All right, we're going to wrap it up. But thank you so much for coming in, a little margin, a little blushini with me.
Oh, my God, anytime.
So fun. I think we're actually going for a drink now after.
We are. I'm going to, I said to Carissa, we're going to put on Trolls again and have a dance with Lola in the living room. Let's
Lola's
go.
my daughter, so, all right, we're going to go have a drink.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it. Cheers.
Thanks, J-Val. Chin chin.
That's today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, leave a review. Go show the Shake Up some love and stay connected. Don't forget you can watch all of our episodes on YouTube. Also, jump over to our Shake Up Cocktail Gang Facebook page where you can find out who's coming up on the podcast. And if you've got questions for them, I'll ask the bloody questions. You can also use the code SHAKEUP for 10% off on mrconsistent.com.au. Thank you so much for listening. And just remember, shit, that's fresh.